Hello and welcome to this new video. In the previous video, we configured the project for Steam and verified the proper launch of the game for Steam by authenticating the clients via Steam. In this video, we will continue working on adapting the project for Steam. The topic will be Steam Friends and Presents. You may have noticed that the custom presents message in the friends list does not appear in the game even though we correctly called the task set presents after the player's connection. This is normal because Steam uses localized presence, so the process of updating the player's presence is different. Just like EOS presence, Steam Rich Presence (SRP) is a feature on Steam that allows games and applications to display dynamic information about what a user is doing within the game, making it visible to their friends or other Steam users. It enhances social interaction and makes it easier for people to know what games their friends are playing, what achievements they're unlocking, and what in-game activities they're engaged in. On the other hand, localized presence in the context of Steam Rich Presence refers to the ability to display presence data that is specific not only to the game or activity but also to the user's locale or region. This typically means adapting the displayed information to different languages, time zones, or even specific regional activities within a game. Before starting the work on presence, we go into the game instance to correct the implementations made when Steam triggers the delegates, because the triggering of these delegates depends on the target OSS. The current implementation is adapted for EOS as the default platform. In our case, we need to verify which delegates are triggered and which ones are not, because the functionality of our project depends on these delegates. The onLogin status change event is not triggered by the Steam plugin, so we need to move the calls to the save game and title data events. As mentioned in the previous section, Steam does not have a title data service like EOS, so we need to remove the implementation that collects stats and leaderboard names from title data. Finally, this is not an issue for Steam, as Steam implements player progression differently. We will see later how to integrate player progression into the game via the Easy OSS plugin. Select and delete this implementation. The events related to friend request notifications are not triggered by the Steam plugin, so we can remove them. The onPresenceArray updated event is triggered on Steam, unlike EOS. You can use it to collect the player's presence. For me, I don't implement it since the other implemented delegate also triggers on Steam. Here, we can keep the implementation that collects the player's presence since this delegate is also triggered by the Steam plugin. launch the game to verify the correct triggering of presence delegates. There you go. As you can see, both delegates are triggered. As an example, if you want to use the presence array delegate, you just need to loop through the presence list to collect the information. Go to the Friend Item widget. The Steam plugin does not support adding a friend via their ID, so you can remove it from your project. Friend management on Steam is done through the Social overlay. This task will return an error indicating that the operation cannot start. Thus, the Steam plugin does not support deleting or blocking a friend, so this must be done through the Social overlay. We need to remove the player reporting implementation, as it is a feature specific to the target OSS. We will see later how to implement it for Steam. I will keep the implementation for EOS for now, as I will make the modification in this widget later. For now, just disconnect the button. I now want to adapt the set presence process for Steam. As a reminder, we set the presence in the login widget after the player's connection, and we set the custom message in lobby. For Steam, we cannot send the custom message directly without first providing it with a list of localizable messages. For example, if we want to update the presence to display the message in lobby, this message must be defined in your Steamworks. You need to translate this message for all the target languages of your game, and Steam will automatically display the correct translation to the client based on their language preference and region. In your Steam dashboard, go to Community, then Rich Presence. It is on this page where you need to provide Steam with your localized presence file. To understand the format of the file to send and the properties you can define, you need to read the documentation. In this video, I want to show you how to create a basic presence file by defining 2 languages, and I also want to show you how to modify the message to include dynamic content, in other words, properties. Here in the documentation, you have a basic file format. I will copy this block to create the presence messages for my application. Presence messages are called tokens. Each token is a key value pair, where the key is the message identifier and the value is its content. A message can have parameters that each user can assign different values to. I want to create a file without an extension, in which I define my presence. I copy the version provided by the documentation to customize it. I want to define 3 tokens, 1 message to display once the player is in the lobby, so in lobby, and 2 messages containing properties that the user can set. The key must be in the form of hashtag a namespace underscore key name. To define a number property in a message, the syntax is the variable name between 2%. To define a string property in a message, the syntax is the variable name between 2% signs, all enclosed in 2 brackets. The localization of these 3 tokens is English. We can duplicate them to add them for another language. You must therefore translate the messages to the target language. Now upload this file to the Rich Presence page. You must publish the changes made to your application. You can now find the provided presence for each language on the Rich Presence page. What you need to do now is use the token key when setting the presence instead of the message value. To test the presence with properties, I want to temporarily add 2 test buttons in the home widget that serve to update the presence. When this button is clicked, I set the presence with a number by providing a random number. To update the property value, we need to add a property key value pair, where the key is the property name and the value is its value. Repeat the process to do the same for presence with a string. Launch the game to test. In the social overlay, we can see the presence message below the player name, but it's not the correct message. This is normal because while we are in dev mode, the social overlay takes time to refresh. The message there is an old one I defined before making the changes you saw. A simple solution to refresh the social overlay is to restart the Steam application by killing the application's process with Ctrl+Shift+Del, then relaunching the game. For now, we don't see the presence message of the second player because they are not connected yet, so their presence has not been updated. We also see, as indicated, that delete and block friend are not supported. Similarly, adding a friend via their ID is not supported. Launch the game on player 2's side, and we can see that he see the correct presence message of player 1. Player 1 should also be able to see the correct presence message of player 2. Player 2 can see his message on his profile via the social overlay, and he can also see player 1's presence. It works perfectly for player 2 because I restarted the Steam application. Finally, it's a dev overlay bug, so it shouldn't worry you. Try to update the presence with a number on player 1's side. Check his presence on player 2's side. You just need to wait for the delegate to collect the presence. The process is still slow on the VM. Do the same on player 2's side and verify on player 1's side. As you can see in the social overlay, player 1 has the number 10 in his presence. Check that player 1 has the new presence with player 2's number 10. As you can see, the social overlay still takes time to update the presence. Repeat the test with the presence containing a string. Here it is, we can see the word hello in the message. There you go, everything is working well. I will remove the test buttons. It's up to you to decide how and when the player's presence will be updated. That's all for this video, see you in the next one.